Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, The Time of My Life, the channel that is all about intentional and abundant living. I'm Deandra, and today's conversation is centered around the advice that I would give to younger men or young men that are coming out into the world. You're just starting out life. This conversation is for you. And it is to piggyback on another conversation that I posted that was advice that I had for younger women or advice that I would give to my younger self. And I thought, why not make one for men? I have the opportunity to mentor young men. As you guys know, I am an educator by profession. And sometimes these conversations can be taken for granted. And so in the vein of intentionality, I wanted to be able to just sit with you for a few minutes and, fill in the gaps maybe of some things that you would want to know, or some things that you may know and just needed, another voice to tell it to you. And I don't ever underestimate on this platform when I come to speak that there are people that need my message, right? Especially in the Black community. I think sometimes we can take for granted that, we don't have sit downs with our children sometimes. And, it takes a village to raise a child. And sometimes, you may not have mommy, to say some things. You may not have auntie, but I would like to think that you can always, come to this channel and glean from this channel. I like to say that I have equity of life where I have lived experiences, and also the experiences of others that, I can also speak on, because I would have experienced things with persons, in their healing journey. So I have a lot of value. I think that I could add to conversations. And so, yeah, I just want to say that anything that I say is in the spirit of inspiring, empowering, and educating. That's been my life's work as an educator. And so I come from a family that is also predominantly male, okay, on both sides, mommy and daddy side. So I know a little bit about the man. I know a little bit about you guys, right? And I also have two sons, and I'm an aunt. I have brothers, uncles, like I said. And so, fellas, this one is for you. Now, I want to start with a quote that I grew up hearing from my uncle. He's a successful Black Bahamian businessman. And one of the things that he would always say is that the average person cannot get anywhere because they are focused too much on the opposite sex. And that quote went with me for years. And the older I got, the more I saw that to be true, And I like that he said the opposite sex, because it's not just the fellas. It's my sisters as well. But, today's conversation is about the guys. So if you can glean anything from this, fellas, it is my wish that these nuggets could help you to change your life. And so let's start with number one. Before you become a man, or when you are becoming a young man, the first thing you need to worry about is building yourself before you build relationships, in my opinion. In your early years, your focus should not be the opposite sex. Your focus should be on becoming a man, building your skill, building your education, building your income, learning how to make money in more ways than one. We call it multiple streams of income. Because if you don't build yourself first, life will force you into survival later. And I cannot tell you how common this is, in the Black community. And you see it over and over. Like, you start reacting to life as opposed to actually building a life which you want. So it's very, very important that you build yourself before you get, caught up on the opposite sex. And number two, master your discipline, especially your desires. A man without discipline is a man living on impulse. And impulse will destroy your future faster than ignorance ever will. You must learn not everything you feel is something you act on, because undisciplined desire can lead to consequences that last for generations. Unstable families, multiple directions of responsibility, emotional damage, and a life you never planned for. Control yourself early, or life will control you later. And I just want to elaborate right there, because a lot of times I find with young men, when they're coming of age, what happens? You get in a romantic relationship, boy meets girl, and then, boy and girl, become intimate, and then boy and girl have a baby. And so now you just start reacting to life. You have not that a baby is the end of the world, but it surely isn't the start of, it doesn't give you a head start. You know what I mean? Now, there's the school of thought that says, oh, my baby caused me to push. My baby caused me to strive. Listen, you don't need no baby to strive. Your womb will always be there. I always tell the females. So for men, I'll tell you, listen, everything is going to be on the up and up for a very long time. You don't need a baby to start life. All right. Don't let anybody tell you, oh, when you come out in the world, start and bog yourself down with responsibility. No, no, sir. No, ma'am. No, sir, no, ma'am. Stay in mommy's house as long as you can. Build yourself. Build your skill set so that you can then get the life that you want, not the life that you are necessarily reacting to. And you have to be intentional about that, because if you don't be intentional, nobody is going to design your life for you. And you don't want a life where your life is just filled with responsibilities and, buying Pampers and stuff before you got a chance to buy yourself things that you wanted. No, sir, I don't want that for you. All right. So in that same vein, that brings me to this point. Design your life. Don't drift through it. Design your life. Do not drift through it. What do I mean by that? Write it down. Be intentional about the life that you want. Who do you want to be? How do you want to live? Where do you want to live? What kind of woman do you want? I know you like that one, guys. What kind of woman do you want in your life? What kind of home do you want to build? What is the legacy you want to leave? Because if you don't design your life, life will design one for you. If you don't design your life, life will design one for you. Young men, you're going to see a central theme here. A Black woman is one of the most beautiful things that has graced this earth. I know they are all attractive. They look so good, and you just have to have you one. I've never lived a day in a man's body, so I cannot speak on, too much about, the hormonal part of it and what you guys experience and all like that. But what I can say to you is control your desire to act on your desire. Does that make sense? Like, you have to find the discipline within yourself. And this is going to piggyback off of designing your life, right? Don't everything you see, you're just immersing your time and your energy into that. It distracts you from the life that you want to build. Like, I'm not saying not to love women. Oh my goodness. How could you not look at a Black woman and be like, I love a Black woman from infinity to infinity? How could you not? Right? Very attractive. However, do not make them the center of your world. They're going to always be there. They're not going anywhere. Build your life first so that you can get exactly what you want. Because I'm going to give you a news flash. If you focus on them and you didn't build yourself, guess what? They're going to call you broke or inadequate, right? So take your time when you're a young man you're fresh out of high school, take your time to get yourself a job, or you're going to school to bring like a high value skill. And then from there, you're able to systematically build on the life you have. Like I said, stay with mommy as long as you possibly can. Don't try to get yourself bogged down in responsibility, the light bill, the rent, and all these things just to impress a woman. Women are going to always be there. And I'm going to hold your hand when I say this. They're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. Get yourself together first and then focus, on the opposite sex. There's a time and a season for everything. And when you are just coming out of high school, the opposite sex ain't it. It's not it. And again, I'm going to say not that you don't like them. You can have your girlfriend, your boy. No. You could have your girlfriend, right? You could have your girlfriend, but at the end of the day, do not make her your world, right? Make sure that you have hobbies and things that interest you outside, of your relationship, right? Do not spend all of your resources on a woman. Young men who are coming up in the world, please hear me. I know that women are the sweetest thing that has graced, the land. In one of the songwriters said. But at the end of the day, women, we love the masculine, right? We love a man who also has boundaries. We have our boundaries, and we know that men love that. But I want to tell you as a man, have boundaries as well. Have discipline. Women love those things. They will respect you for it. And you have to respect yourself. So if you give a woman every single thing that you have, what are you going to have for yourself, right? That's not love. The first kind of love is self-love first. So you have to have a limit as to what you're going to give to the opposite sex, right? And that goes with time. That goes with your resources, which can be your finances. And if you are a young man, you don't have that to give to nobody. If you give the woman all your little paycheck, what you get from your little job, then what are you going to have for you? And she's going to still turn around and call you broke after the fact. So you see, it's important that you build yourself first, build your skill first, so you could have multiple streams of income. So, you're a well-established young person. So then you can extend yourself to say, okay, now, I could start to, move into a life of intentionality where I may want to take on a wife, or I may want to take on, the responsibility of having, a partner that is exclusive to you. And again, all this goes back to the life that you design. If you want to be married, if you want to have an exclusive partner, you have to know, okay, this is what is going to probably be required of me, or what I am willing to give. And so I have to design my life around that. We're living a life of intentionality. We're not just letting life happen to us. Okay, so design your life. Design your life, young men. Design the kind of lifestyle that you want to have. And number 4, be honest in relationships. Always, right? Whenever you do get into a relationship, be honest. If you're not ready for a commitment, you say that. And when I say commitment, I don't just mean like, oh, you're my boyfriend, you're my girlfriend. Time commitments. Some women want you to convince them that you love them for a living. Be honest with them. Hey, baby, I'm in school studying now. I'm going to have to, spend a certain amount of time doing this, or I do this and I do that. Be honest. Don't give not just women, but anyone unrealistic expectations of you. Okay, be honest in your relationships. Do not mislead people into emotional investments you're not prepared to sustain. All right. Be clear, be responsible, be intentional as it relates to your relationships. And number 5, your word is your identity. Be a man that your yes is yes and your no is no. Your reputation will travel further than your intentions. Integrity is not what you say, it is what you do repeatedly that can be proven. Number 6, watch your company. Watch your company, young man. It's going to shape your life. And I know that's easier said than done, especially when you grow up in a demographic that, everybody is kind of doing the same thing. Everyone is in survival mode. You grew up with these people. How could you watch your company? You can watch it. And for your survival and for you to live a life that you're going to be proud of, a lot of times you're going to have to distance yourself, right? And you're going to have to make the decision as to what is good for you and what is bad for you. So you are not just influenced by your decisions, you are shaped by your circle. If you are around men who lack direction, you will slowly lose yours. If you are around men who are disciplined, focused, and building, you will rise with them. Choose company that reflects the life you want, not the life that you're trying to escape from. Number 7, have something higher than yourself to believe in, right? Now, a lot of us, we have our faith, right? So whatever your faith is, have that to believe in. A man needs something he believes in beyond money, women, and success. Whether it is God, faith, or a higher purpose, you need a grounding. Because without it, you will be driven only by ego, impulse, and pressure. And that is not strength, that is instability. A grounded man moves differently. He is not easily shaken. So be grounded, fellas. Be grounded. Number 8, respect yourself through financial discipline. Respect yourself through financial discipline. Do not rush into the role of a provider before you are stable. A young man should focus on building, not overextending himself. We talked about that earlier. So learn money, how to save it, how to grow it, how to protect it, how not to waste it on appearances, right? Trying to keep up with the Joneses and, wanting to impress the girls. I'm not saying don't be fly. Be fly, look good, smell good, but have a limit, right? Be disciplined and don't spend your money, like I said, trying to my grandmother used to say, don't be putting your money in the hairy bank. That's what I tell my boys. And, yeah. And the older you get, the more you will understand that statement. It's a little bit, raunch, but and it's something that you remember. Do not put your money in the hairy bank. My grandmother used to say that very, very often. It's the bank of no return, right? You're going to take all of your money and give it to women. And then when they leave you, then what are you going to have, right? So do not slip into wasting money on appearances, trying to let people to think that you have it when you really don't, right? Be out to thine own self, be true. Then thou cannot be false to any man. I love that. That is a quote by Macbeth. Be true to yourself. Don't lie to you. It's one thing to lie to people, but when you start lying to yourself, that is completely that's different, right? And you're lying to yourself when you're trying to pretend to ball out, at the clubs or whatever with money that you need for your rent. I know YOLO, you want to live and you want to experience and enjoy life, but guess what? When you set up your life, you'll be able to do that. But be responsible, be disciplined, all right? Financial pressure destroys more relationships than love ever builds. So don't ever overextend yourself financially, especially when you're just starting out in life, all right? Number 9, understand what respect actually is in dating, right? And remember, I told you, I'm a heterosexual woman. Love a black man down, right? So I'm never going to tell you, oh, don't date or don't look at the opposite sex. Absolutely not. No. I want you to be, attracted to the opposite sex. I want you to have experience with the opposite sex, or else what would youth be if you did not? But I'm just telling you not to make that your sole focus in your youth, right? Don't let it consume you. So when you are, dating, I just want to talk a little bit about that too. When you're young and you're coming up, don't let no woman convince you that every weekend she needs to go to a 5-star restaurant and you only have your, in the Bahamas, minimum wage is what, $260. Don't let any woman tell you that if you're making $260 that every weekend you must take her out and wine and dine her, right? Because y'all are dating. When you are first coming up in the world, understand this. And I know social media sometimes has reality warped or have you thinking that I broke if I don't listen, if I don't do this, if I don't fly her out, if I don't do this and I don't do that. Remember what I told you? She is going to call you broke anyway. So you don't have to go out of your way to try to make any woman feel as if you have to convince her that you love her for a living with the little bit of money that you have. It's okay to start off in life with not, making tons of money. Everyone has to start somewhere, especially if you're coming from a family that doesn't have the generational wealth, and you're the first one that is building something, right? It is okay to start off with humble beginnings. Don't despise that. That's why I tell y'all, don't go looking for these women that social media are bringing them up and telling them that, if he can't give you all of his money and if he's not a provider man, and if he's not this and if he's not that, then you need to get rid of him. That's why I tell y'all, don't go looking for a woman. That's why I told y'all the first thing you shouldn't be doing is trying to tie yourself down to a woman. Date them. If a 18, if an 18-year-old fresh out of school doesn't understand that I'm trying to get somewhere in life, and if we want to date, and be friends and, go out and have long walks on the beach, and, maybe I'm able to buy a meal for us to sit and have a picnic, then, sweetie, that ain't the woman for you. That is not the woman for you. And this goes back to intentionality. You have to know what you could afford and what you're able to do. And that's why you get your book. If you feel like all the women want the older guys and, they are not checking on you because they want money, don't feel bad. Build your life. You could spin the block. But most of the times you don't want them after you would have already built and advanced yourself. Most of the times you don't want, those people anymore because in some cases you saw how they treated you, when you wanted them, and then, they look to the other guys who in most cases, if they are materialistic women, they end up getting used and abused. And by time, as all kind of, big dudes, would have already, I don't want to say ruined, but I want to be real with you guys. How can I put this? Okay. Okay. If you have a woman, the young women that are in your set that you're interested in, and they're telling you, okay, oh, you too broke. They want the 30-inch bust down, and, you only making your little minimum wage or trying to go to college to try to make things happen. You're not going to be selling no drugs, by the way. You, young man, will not be selling any drugs or getting involved in any criminal activity to accommodate no woman. Let them go and find whoever they think is the best fit for them, and you build yourself, and then you get the woman that you want. And don't go and pick for the love of God any woman that would have already, been around the entire community and then wants to come back to you after you build yourself. And that's why I sometimes, when I see men say, they have a preference, that's fine. Always have your standards high. And it's unfortunate that not everybody is teaching, their daughters the same thing about their value, but you have to know your value as a man, what you want. Do you want somebody that, is just after money? We live in a culture now where social media is raising women to just want money. Do you want someone like that, or do you want somebody that you could build with, right? Someone that y'all could build your empire together. A woman of integrity, a woman that when you leave this country and you go to a next, she's home and she is kept. She's not trying to see how many men she can be with while you're off of the island, right? You have to know what you want as a young man. And these things, that's why I told you early on, write it down, right? Don't just be reacting to life. Design what you want. You'll be surprised to know what you would get when you have these things written down. So I got a little bit carried away just now. I got a little passionate just now about that, because I think when I talk about this, I think about my sons, and these are things that I tell my sons. Listen, don't let no one have you for no conch. That's what we say in the Bahamas. Don't let nobody put you in the bag and beat you. What? A woman wants a man that is a provider man from the time that he's 19 is insane. And if that is her preference, then I encourage you, young men, to go for your preference, to go with whatever kind of woman that you want, right? And I encourage you not to pick up no woman that is just solely interested in money alone. You need a woman with value. And that's what we have lost in this society. Gone are the days when you believe that, you have a mutual understanding and a respect for each other, and you want to build your life with the person. I feel so bad. And I'm sorry to say for the generation, you guys that are coming up, because the younger the generation, gets, the more we see our values, right, being erased. But that's not to discourage you. That's just to say, have a standard. Have a standard for what you want in this life. Communicate with what you want and uphold those standards. And just how women could say, you know what? I didn't like this and I didn't like that. This doesn't serve me anymore. I'm out. Also be the man that has the limit that says, you know what? This looks like this isn't, aligned with what I want. And, I'm going to cut it. Just communicate that. All right. And I also want to say this, because I told you that I grew up in a family that is predominantly men. Learn how to conflict resolve in these, not just in relationships, but in your life, in your growth, in your journey as a young man. Learn how to communicate when you're angry, right? This is why we talk about self-development and finding hobbies and things outside of, romantic relationships, because it's hard. It's hard being a man in this world. A lot is going to be required of you. And that's why I told you not to get responsibilities too early, right? To not take on things too early, to not let your desires cause you to have premature, grow up to be a man too quick, being a father too quick. Allow yourself time to mature, right? And figure out what you really do want. Because what you want at 18, you're not going to want at 28. You're not going to want at 38. You're not going to want at 48. It's going to change. And remember that men, you are required to lead. If you do decide to get married and have a family, you're going to be required to lead. So there's a lot required from you, and to whom much is given, much is going to be expected. All right. So with that being said, learn to conflict resolve. If a woman, decides that, she doesn't want you, or she decides that, she wants to be promiscuous, don't beat her. For God's sake. And I know this is a conversation that you're like, what? Yeah, I have to say it. Don't beat up on women. She don't want you. That's fine. Move on. And that's why I told you, none of us are going to be exempt from the challenges of life, men and women alike. But for a man, I know that you want your respect. And I know that a lot of men deal with trauma, and they grow up in homes that, were abusive. And so you kind of learn what you live, but do the work to heal, right? Don't beat up on women, because the next thing you know, you're sitting in a jail, because you cannot control your emotions, right? And that's why we talked earlier about being intentional, right? You have to watch women, watch what kind of woman it is you're getting involved in. And while sometimes that does not exempt you, from it doesn't exempt you from getting your heart broken, or, someone not meeting your expectations as it relates to relationships. But those are conversations for another time. But don't beat them. Don't beat them, and don't pick up a case because you don't know how to deal, with certain things, right? It's a lot. It's a lot. And that's why I said from the beginning, young men, focus on yourself very early on. I know they said it as a joke on social media, but honestly, in the beginning of your life, get very serious the first 5 years of your adulthood. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. That's your time, right? That's your time to build your life, try to learn you and understand you. I'm not saying to not have a special lady friend. Why not? But don't make them the center of your world, all right? So understand what respect actually is. Respect is not control. That's why I say do not beat a woman to try to control her, right? Do not verbally abuse her to try to dim her down because you already feel small. Learn how to communicate with women. Read books, right? If the men in your life were beating women all of their life, you don't have to beat women. There's other ways to go about things, because trust me, it's not going to serve you. Once a woman feels a certain way, there's only a matter of time before she leaves you. And beating is a good way for to completely disconnect a woman from you. All right. So respect is not control. Respect is stability, clarity, and responsibility. Take responsibility for your actions, right? Communicate well. And if you are still building your life, you should not be financially carrying relationships. Build first. You see that common theme keeps coming up. Lead later. Build first, lead later. Sustain what you can actually support. Okay? And I want you to take care of your body and mind early. That's number 10. Take care of your body and mind early. Your future health is being decided by your daily habits right now as a young man. Exercise, eat properly, avoid lifestyle habits that slowly destroy you. What you ignore in your 20s becomes your burden in your 30s and 40s. And I just want to elaborate on that. Sometimes I see men, that are young men, and, they think it's so cool to drink, the alcohol and be passed so drunk, like they say in the Bahamas. Boy, I was pissy drunk. Lord of mercy. Please, young men, everything in moderation, right? Women go through their changes. But man, y'all be going through some serious y'all get to go through some serious changes hormonally. And don't think that you are exempt, right, from the life cycle of a human that goes through transitions. There are going to be things that happens, and you're going to have to learn how to manage that so that you're not in your 40s, in your 30s with a bare belly, just walking around and normalizing. Take care of yourself. A lot of young men neglect the fact that they're not going to be young forever, right? Take care of yourself, right? Eat the vegetables. Do everything in moderation. Drink your water. These things are not just for women. These are for you too. Take care of yourself, mind, body, and soul. Like I said, go and you read your books, right? Find time to sit alone. Sometimes we have a problem with sitting with self. You have to learn that very, very early on as a man. Sit with self, young man. Sit with yourself. Meditate. Think. Don't always be distracted. Every bad thing that happens, you just want to distract yourself. That's a coping mechanism. That's not healthy, right? We're breaking generational curses and unhealthy habits so that whenever you do get your family, you're able to teach them healthy things, healthy practices. So take care of yourself, young man. From the time that you are in school, right? Don't never stop exercising. Be careful even with the smoking. Don't pick up bad habits, right? I'm not saying to not enjoy yourself as a young person, because I'm going to tell you right now, I believe in living an abundant life. So if you feel like you want to love yourself, as we call it, with, you want to be able to, have a drink in moderation, right? I really would tell you not to drink, but if you do, have that in moderation, right? Be careful. Drugs, I would just say no to them, because the next thing you know, you're addicted and, oh, your boy was trying this, so you want to try that too. No to drugs. No to drugs. And even though I know sometimes, well, you think like, oh, older people are, our parents are not realistic, like they didn't try things in their youth. It isn't that. It's just that we know the dangers of things. Like, you have some drugs that will completely destroy you. From you try that. I have known persons that were experimenting with cocaine, and to this day in the Bahamas we call them bases, crackheads, they Joneses, destroy their life. Educated people who just thought like, oh, I just could try this drug, to party with. It's a party drug. You were out, and then one night, then all of a sudden, oh, that did feel good, so you fiending for it. Like, discipline, young man. Trust me. It's so much to being an adult. You're gonna have so much time to be an adult, and there's some things that's gonna come before you. Listen, you're going to need, that's why I told you, you're going to need something to be grounded in. You're going to need your faith, right? I grew up Christian, so I would say, so if I were talking to a Christian, I'd say, you need God. You need God. You need something to believe in that tells you, I'm not doing that to my temple. You know what it is to take a line of drugs and you addicted? Just because you was experimenting, you have to have discipline, young man. You have to have a strong head. You have to have a strong head as a young man. And don't let nobody convince you that, some people will want you to try things just to mess up yourself. Some of your young men have such bright futures. Your future's so bright, you think people can't see that? And sometimes people just want to destroy you. You have to stay woke, especially as a young man who's going to have to lead. You have to be so vigilant. It's almost like you have to be militant in the mind. That's why I love me a successful black man here. I love me a successful black man because I know what it takes. The odds that man would have had to take to get where he is, you gotta love it. Absolutely have to love it. And I want for y'all so bad to be successful and to beat the status quo. And even though when you're born with all the odds against you, that you rise above that. That's what I want for my young men. That's what I want for my young men. To go out in the world and say, yeah, I did this. My discipline did that. I got a little bit carried away there. But, in closing, I just want to tell you, young men, take care of yourself, right? Design your life. Understand what respect is, right? As it relates to the female. Respect yourself through finances. Have something higher than yourself to believe in. Watch your company, right? Let your yes be yes and your no be no. Let your word be valuable. Be honest in your relationships. Always, right? Master your discipline, especially with your desires. Build yourself. before you build relationships. So I just want you to do your best, young men. If you build yourself first, everything else becomes a choice. If you don't, everything becomes pressure. So I want you to build early, right? Be intentional. Be intentional about your life. Learn patience. Learn what is delayed gratification. Don't look for things to happen. You can't plant corn, in on Monday and then expect it on Friday. Some things take time. You have to learn patience and have delayed gratification. Learn emotional control. Learn how to suppress your emotion, how to control it, You want to act on something, but you know that, overreacting, what that leads to, right? We talked about learning how to communicate. If something made you feel a way, don't ball it up and then start, beating on things and beating on people. Tell the person and if they don't understand that or they're unskilled at communication, that don't sound like that's the person for you. I know it sounds like, oh, I'm being unrealistic, but trust me, I've seen a lot. I've seen enough. So you want to make sure that you have these skill set, and it's going to build over time. Take all that I'm saying into consideration, but when the time is right, you're going to be like, oh, I remember what Deandra said, right? It's all going to come in time, but the first thing you need to do is focus on yourself. Time is your greatest asset, right? Time is your greatest asset. You want to be able to move through this life, through each of your stages, and be proud of what you've done. My grandmother used to say, make page of your age. That means do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it, so you wouldn't necessarily live a life of regret. In your 20s, build yourself. So by the time as you're 30, your trajectory looks good. Not that it's going to be perfect, because none of us are exempted from the perils of this life or the unfortunate things that may happen in this life. There are going to be some curveballs, right? There are going to be some things that's going to make you say, what? Like, I never even thought nothing like that. It's life. It's a journey, and it's a beautiful one, and it can be a beautiful one if you plan it. And I want you to never think that, oh, because I'm from this place, or because I'm from that place, or oh, I'm not as smart as this one, or I'm not. No, all of us have our gifts and our talents. And in my other videos, it talks about the power of a mentor, right? If you see that, you're weak in something, find something else to do. Never stop trying as a man. You're a man. You were built for this. You were built strong for a reason, right? You're a man for a reason. We need y'all. Don't mind us. Even the most ambitious of us need y'all. We love your leadership. We love everything that the masculine has to offer. Even when our mouth is hard, even when we are being a true Bohemian woman, we need y'all. We need y'all to lead. We need y'all to have it together. So I encourage you, the next young men that are coming up in this generation, if you only take about 2 of the things, that I said, leave something in the comments that would have resonated with you. And whenever it is your time for any of these to be implemented in your life, I hope that this video you can come back to, or that it will be a reference point for whatever stage of life you may be in. It was a joy sharing this. And, I just always hope for you to live a life of intentionality and abundance. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.